الحمد لله وكفى وسلام على عباده الذين اصطفى أما بعد فأعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم قل من كان عدوا لجبريل فإنه نزله على قلبك بإذن الله مصدقا لما بين يديه وهدى وبشرى للمؤمنين من كان عدوا لله وملائكته ورسله وجبريل وميكال فإن الله عدو للكافرين صدق الله العظيم. Regarding ayat number 97 of Surat Al-Baqarah, we explained the various forms of life, and more specifically the limitations that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has placed on various forms of life, from the life of the plants and rocks and stones to the life of the animals, then the life of the jinn, the life of malaika, and then the life of this human being, insan. What is very clear is that when it comes to malaika, to angels, they don't have any concept of disobedience of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. They have been given various tasks to carry out. There is no concept of halal or haram for malaika, for the angels. Whatever they are commanded, they do. And they don't understand or they don't know anything else. Whether this idea of wanting to do or not wanting to do, this applies to us human beings. When it comes to the malaika or to the angels, they only understand that whatever Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala commands them, they do it. They don't question the wisdom behind it. They don't question what it will do to them. They understand that there are beings that have been created to carry out the will of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. There are various malaika or angels that have been mentioned in the Quran. In various ways, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala mentions some of the types of tasks that these malaik or these angels carry out. Jibreel alayhi salam is mentioned, Mikail alayhi salam is mentioned. Malakul Maut, the angel of death, is mentioned in the Quran. There's also Kiramun Katibin, the angels that record our actions and deeds. There are two positioned for every human being, one on the right side, one on the left side. They record the person's righteous deeds and also the person's sins. They're known as Kiramun Katibin. They're also mentioned in the Quran. يَعْلَمُونَ مَا تَفْعَلُونَ Kiramun Katibin يَعْلَمُونَ مَا تَفْعَلُونَ. They're honorable scribe angels that they know whatever actions we're performing. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala mentions them in the Quran. And there are other angels in various specific times in human history that had to carry out specific tasks. They're also mentioned in the Quran. There's a mention of Harut and Marut, which are coming in the coming ayat of Surat Al-Baqarah. There were two angels that were sent to Babel or present-day Iraq. And they were given the task of teaching people sihr. And we'll get into the details of that once we get to that ayah. But they were given this task, so Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala also gives them a mention in the Quran. Because of the test that they were sent against, they were sent as a test for humanity. There are other angels also in quite a few places mentioned in the Quran. Some of the malaika that are related to the fire of Jahannam, they're also mentioned in the Quran. The number 19 is mentioned with them, عَلَيْهَا 19, that there are 19 of them. And then mentioned, and there's again details once you get into those tafseer, why 19 and what are the details of that. But there are specific numbers also, and that's a separate topic. There are specific numbers in the Quran that carry some great significance. One of them is also the number 19, the 19 Malaika. But also if you count the letters of Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim, you also get 19 letters. And there are details to that. Once we get to the tafsir of that, we'll go into those details. So there are other Malaik or other angels also mentioned in the Quran in various places in the Quran. What is very clear is that there's no angel that does something from their own side. It's not that an angel comes up with a plan and then it goes and carries out that plan or executes that plan. Malaika don't have this. This is from the human beings, us insan or human beings. We have this gift of being able to make a plan, and then we're given the ability to carry out that plan or execute that plan. The Malaika, they don't have anything like this. They just wait for the hukum of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. They just wait for the command of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. The Malaika, as far as numbers are concerned, we also know from the ahadith of Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wasallam that on one side, they have very amazing structures. Some of them are very, very massive. And some of these Malaika, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is created in one form and they don't move from that form. There are some Malaika that are created in a position of ruku. They have never lifted their head from ruku. There are some who have been created in sajda. They don't move from sajda, from that position of prostration. And the number is also amazing. There are so many Malaika. The number is far beyond what we may understand as far as the number of other creations of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. In one hadith, Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wasallam, he told the Sahaba radiyallahu anhum, أَطَّتِ السَّمَاء وَحُقَّ لَهَا أَن تَئِطَّ مَا فِيهَا. He said that the heavens are creaking. You know, you put something heavy on something, it starts to creak. Either that or when you have a really old car and you sit in it and it starts creaking. Anyhow, he said that the heavens are creaking. And they have every right to creak. Why? Because there's not a place of 4 fingertips that there's not an angel doing sajda to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. That's how many angels there are. And their real number we don't know. It is reported that when we know that on top of the Kaaba, Baytullah, when you go up to the heavens, you go up to the 6th heaven, you have to understand there's a difference between samawat and Jannah. Sometimes we get these confused, people get lost. Especially sama and samawat, they're mentioned in the Quran sometimes interchangeably, and people misunderstand what it's really talking about. And a lot of these flat earther theory people, they come out and they say, you see, the earth is flat. And some strange ideas, because they say that somewhere in the Quran it talks about this. Nowhere in the Quran does it talk about the earth being round or flat or this and that. One thing is when you stand on the earth, it looks flat. This much we know. But the earth has its own shape, just like everything else in the universe has a shape. Okay? But Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, He has created a system on this earth that there are skies. This earth has a roof. It's like every building has a roof. And the earth has been given 7 roofs. They're known as sama. Okay? And these is called sama, which translates to sky. Okay, you have the stetosphere and ionosphere and whatever other funny names they've given in science, but each one has a filter system. So it filters out a lot of the radiation and the various kinds of dangerous, harmful rays before they come into this earth and destroy the earth. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has created that system of protection. And it has a very unique system that whatever comes to it, it returns it. وَالسَّمَاءِ ذَاتِ الرَّجْعِ. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has given it this quality that whatever goes against it, it bounces off. When we were young, we used to take a rock and we used to skip it on the top of a lake. And it used to skim off the surface of the lake, if you know what I'm talking about. So that's how various things come and hit the earth and they skim off or bounce off like this. And eventually they're shot back into the outer space. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has mentioned the quality of these various sama in the Quran, that they have the quality of repelling things. So this is one type of sky. It has 7 layers of this earth. Each one has a filter system. That is limited to this earth. Anything outside of this earth is repelled, and the earth is protected, and we human beings are protected. There's another type of sky also that Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wasallam, he started speaking about heavens. They're called samawat. Okay? And this is not Jannah. Jannah is a whole separate creation of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. You can fit the whole universe inside just one Jannah and still have space. We'll come back to that. But there is a system of samawat. When Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wasallam, he went on the night journey, the Mi'raj, Isra and Mi'raj. On the Isra and Mi'raj, he spoke about a different system. He said that he was taken from the earth to the Sama'ud Dunya, the sky in which the earth is. All of these stars that we see, the galaxies that we see, the billions of galaxies, and each galaxy has billions of stars and so many different types of, various kinds of stars within it. And as far as your telescope can see, you see nothing but galaxies. All of this is just part of the first heaven, the first sky. Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wasallam told us that when he went to the first heaven and he went to the second, he went beyond the first heaven and he looked down to the Sama'ud Dunya, the sky in which this earth is. He said that the whole sky, the first sky to the second sky, it looked like a egg to a desert. That's how small the first heaven was to the second heaven. And all of these stars are just part of the first heaven. We don't know what is in the second heaven. We can't see there. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has created these heavens out of smoke. We're told in the Quran, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala tells us, ثُمَّ اسْتَوَى إِلَى السَّمَاءِ وَهِيَ دُخَانٌ فَقَالَ لَهَا وَلِلْأَرْضِ ائْتِيَا طَوْعًا وَكَرَهَا قَالَتَا أَتَيْنَا طَائِعِينَ فَقَضَاهُنَّ السَّبْعَ السَّمَاوَاتِ. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says that then we turned, after the creation of the earth, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, then we turned our attention to the sky, and it was smoke. And then we told the earth and the sky that come to us willingly or unwillingly. So the heavens and the earth said, oh Allah, we submit to you. We submit to you. We come to you willingly. Then Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, we decreed and we portioned out the sky into 7 heavens. And this is not the kind of smoke you just put your hand through. This is solid smoke. For those who are familiar with hot ice, where you take smoke and you freeze it. And it's very, even if you touch it, it can peel your skin off. Don't test it. It's very painful. But this is solid smoke. And it has been formed into a type of solid structure. Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam in one hadith spoke about the various types of structures that were used to create every heaven, even though it is smoke. So the second heaven to the first heaven compared to the second heaven is like an egg to the desert. The second heaven compared to the third heaven is like an egg to a desert, and so on and so forth. So as you start going up, each heaven looks so small compared to the heaven above it. So Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wasallam told us that when he got to one part within his night journey, either the 6th heaven or the 7th heaven, there was a house there. There was a man sitting there. And there were so many angels doing tawaf of that house. So Sayyidina Jibreel alayhi salam, that what is this? Jibreel alayhi salam told him that this is Al-Baytul Ma'mur. This was a house that was built in the heavens on top of the Kaaba Baytullah. On earth, we have the Kaaba Baytullah. In the heavens, the Malaika have Al-Baytul Ma'mur. And the Malaika, they do tawaf of Al-Baytul Ma'mur, just like we human beings, we go around the Kaaba 7 times, we do tawaf. So the Malaika, they also do tawaf. And the man that was sitting there was Sayyidina Ibrahim alayhi salam. He was the one who built, he was given the great honor of building the Kaaba Baytullah, putting the structure for the Kaaba Baytullah. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gave him the great honor of being there in Baytul Ma'mur also. But Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wasallam, he told us that the Malaika, there are so many that at every given time there are 70,000 angels that do tawaf of Al-Baytul Ma'mur. And when they do the tawaf of Al-Baytul Ma'mur, they never get a chance to ever do tawaf again till the Day of Judgment. This is how many angels there are. There's a queue of angels waiting to do tawaf every day. Once they do tawaf, they never get a chance to come back. It's not like us, mashallah. On our 7th Hajj, we buy our watches so we can show to people that I've done 7th Hajj also. It's not like this, okay? There's a joke behind that. We went to one meeting and this brother was talking about how many Hajj he had done, He said, on my 6th Hajj I bought this, and my 7th Hajj I bought this one. One of the shuyukh were saying, they said, brother, Hajj is fard one time. I don't know why you're bragging about your 7th Hajj, Anyhow, so but the Malaika, they don't get this chance. They don't get this chance to do 2nd, 3rd, and 5th Hajj. They do tawaf once and they go. They have other tasks to carry out and they never get a chance because there's so many Malaika. Every angel wants this honor to do tawaf. They never get a chance to do it again till Qiyamah. This is how many angels there are. And at any given time, there's 70,000 angels that are doing tawaf. And again, this number is just for us to understand. It's a number in Arabic that shows excessiveness of something. So how many angels there really are, Allahu A'lam. But not a single angel has ever disobeyed Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in any way. When it comes to the Christian beliefs, the Christians believe that Shaitan, he is a fallen angel. And there was a time where he was an angel, and then he disobeyed Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. He was turned into the devil or Shaitan. We Muslims, we know very clearly that this is not true. In the Quran, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala tells us very clearly in Surat Al-Kahf that Shaitan kana min al-jinni fafasaqa an amri rabbi. He was a jinn, so he disobeyed Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. This concept or this idea of fallen angels, there's no such thing. Okay? So Jibreel alayhi salam, he's been given the status of being the leader of the angels, the best of the malaika. So he also carries out the tasks that are given to him. And he doesn't have this concept of coming up with his own plan. He only does whatever Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has ordered him. So to have enmity against the messenger, indirectly you're having enmity against who? Against Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So this was kind of an excuse that the Bani Israel, they were using. That we're not going to accept this Quran because Jibreel alayhi salam, he came and on various occasions in history, he destroyed our nation. He sent a adhab and punishment against us. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will send him to punish certain people or specific individual or sometimes the whole nation if they committed a certain sin. One of the famous examples that was already given before in the ayat that passed was when Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala ordered the Bani Israel to go and take over the land that was promised to them. And when they would go there, they were supposed to say hittatun, and forgive us or overlook our mistakes. And they were supposed to enter into the gate of that town, وَدْخُلُوا الْبَابَ سُجَّدًا. They were supposed to enter into that town in the state of sajda, bowing their heads in humbleness to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. There was a group from amongst them that twisted the words from hittatun to hintatun. Hintatun means give us grain, we're starving. Such strange people. They couldn't even say one word right. And on top of that, rather than going in with sajda, they put their heads up in arrogance and showed their chests. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala sent Jibreel alayhi salam to punish them. And a kind of disease struck them in their necks and in their shoulders and it killed them. This is one example. There are many, many other examples. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala sent Jibreel alayhi salam to punish them in various ways. So this was kind of their objection that how we can accept the Quran when this Quran is being sent by an angel that was sent to destroy us. We cannot accept this. When somebody doesn't want to listen, they'll come up with the most ludicrous examples or the most ludicrous excuses, the most foolish excuses not to accept. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, قُلْ O Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, just tell them, مَنْ كَانَ عَدُوًا لِجِبْرِيلٍ, whosoever is trying to have enmity or trying to make an enemy of Jibreel alayhi salam, فَإِنَّهُ نَزَّلَهُ عَلَىٰ قَلْبِكَ, then Jibreel alayhi salam, he has been sent to send the Quran or to reveal the Quran to your heart, O Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. But he doesn't do it from his side. Bi-idhnillah, he does it with the permission of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. This is not that Jibreel alayhi salam is making up the Quran and bringing it to you. Jibreel alayhi salam, he doesn't even know himself, he doesn't know the Quran before the Quran was given to him. So he was bringing the revelation from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala with the permission of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to the heart of Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. مُصَدِّقًا لِمَا بَيْنَ يَدَيْهِ. This Quran was confirming whatever was with the Bani Israel before. مصدقا لما بين يديه وهدى وبشرى للمؤمنين. This Quran is وهدى, it is a means of guidance. وبشرى للمؤمنين is glad tidings for the believers. The Quran is in various parts, in various places in the Quran you find وهدى, it is the tanween for greatness. It is the ultimate form of guidance, the best form of guidance, the best guide for the believers. This Quran is a book of hidayah, a book of guidance. And really, how many people have changed their lives when they get their hands on a Quran? How many people have accepted Islam whenever they're given just a translation of the Quran and they start reading and they're sincere and they're serious about finding the truth? How many of us Muslims, before we even learn the Quran, were exposed to the beauty of the Quran, how our lives are? And then you find people who, as Muslims, they start learning the Quran, they start studying the Quran, in whatever age. And eventually the Quran completely transforms their life. This Quran has very, very amazing features to it. Sometimes we get carried away, Shaitani comes to us, you're learning the Quran or you're reading the Quran, what benefit it will have. You don't know the meaning. Shaitan puts these ideas in our mind. So he makes us stop reading the Quran also, How many things we do, we don't even know what they are. You go to the doctor and he gives you medicine. First of all, we can't even read the name of the medicine, You have to have some kind of degree just to understand how to pronounce the words in that medicine. Ya subhanallah. Some of the medications, I remember one time they wrote us a medication, the name was more than one line long. I was looking, I said, how do you even pronounce this? Subhanallah. But we still take it. We don't even know how to pronounce it, let alone what's inside it. But when you take it, does it have benefit? Absolutely. You can see the person. You can see the person change. It affects the person. In many cases, it cures the person. The person gets cured. But you don't even know where the ingredient came from. You can't even pronounce the name of the medicine. Some of them, ya subhanAllah, very hard, difficult words to say. But they have the impact. Nobody sits down and says, well, why should I take this when I can't even pronounce it? Only a foolish person would say something like this. And I'm just giving you a simple example. When it comes to the Quran, every part of it will have benefit. Whether you recite it, if you learn the translation, if you recite it without the translation, every part of the Quran has its own impact. Nowhere does it say that if you don't know the translation, the Quran will not benefit you. It has profound impact on the lives of people. The Quran is amazing. There are many, many various funun and ulum that go into understanding and learning the Quran. And it's not just like any other Arabic. The funun and the ulum of the Quran are so amazing. You just study qira'at, the pronunciation and the recitation of the Quran, and one can be amazed what a beautiful book it is. We don't realize how beautiful every single letter is. Even changing the makhraj of a harf, the articulation point of one letter, you can change the meaning of the whole word. You can change the whole meaning. And completely, sometimes a different meaning, sometimes opposite meaning. If you don't do the madda properly in some places, if you don't do the qaf and kaf, you're not careful, completely change the meaning. And when it is recited the way it should be recited by the expert qurra, how beautiful the Quran is. What impact it has. It really calms a person down. And other impacts it has. So the Quran is a means of guidance. Don't ever let shaitan confuse us that, okay, I don't know the meaning, why am I even reading it? And this should never ever stop us from reading the Quran. You should not stop one good deed just because you're not doing another part of a good deed. You should try to do as many amal, righteous deeds you can. Yes, then take out other time and read the translation. But this is how shaitan sometimes stops us from even reading the Quran. Sometimes in the month of Ramadan, shaitan will put this idea in our mind. You don't know the translation, why are you reading the Quran? Now we're deprived of reading the Quran even in the month of Ramadan, where the reward is multiplied so much. Remember, even reading one letter of the Quran, Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wasallam has told us that even reading one letter of the Quran is 10 good deeds. One letter. And then Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wasallam clarified it. That I'm not saying alif lam mim is one letter. But alifun harf, wa lamun harf, wa mimun harf. Alif is one letter, lam is one letter, mim is one letter. So just saying alif lam mim, 30 good deeds right there. Now there's a difference amongst the muhaddithin whether this alif lam mim is the beginning of Surah al-Baqarah or it is the beginning of Surah al-Fil. Because Alif Lam Mim of Surah Al-Fil, Alam comes. Alam tara kayfa fa'ala rabbuka bi ashabil fil. Alam comes. And Alam, the Alif Lam Mim of Alam, Lam. You're not saying the whole letter. You're not saying the whole letter. So if you take that, the Alam of Surah Al-Fil, so then Alif Lam Mim of Surah Al-Baqarah will be far more than just 30 good deeds. Because then saying Alif is Alif Lam Fa, Lam is Lam Alif Mim, and Mim is Mim Ya Mim, 30 letters. Do you understand what I'm trying to tell you, the mathematics? So it's even more profound. Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wasallam did not clarify which Alif Lam Mim he was talking about. How beautiful. How many good deeds you get just for reciting Surah Al-Fatiha. Go count the letters and then multiply by 10. And this is just for someone who's not even with khushu, not even with sincerity reading, just reading. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala then tells us in the Quran, وَاللَّهُ يُضَّاعِفُ لِمَنْ يَشَاءُ. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, He multiplies for whomsoever He wants. And then in salah, the qira'ah of the Quran carries much more reward. To read the Quran in salah carries much more reward. And then to read the Quran in fard salah carries much more reward. And then to pray fard salah in the masjid is 27 times more valuable than praying anywhere else. Now you start trying to do the math, it's not going to work. This is why shaitan, he says, you know what? Instead of making them have that many good deeds, let me just try to stop them from reading the Quran. Make some strange excuse for them. Oh, you don't understand the meaning. How will this be beneficial to you? You know how many foods we eat and we don't even know how to make them? We don't even know what's inside them. Sometimes we don't even know the name of the food, but it tastes good. And we still eat it. It should be halal at least, this much we should check. What I'm saying is, it tastes, we know. We used to have, when we were young, we used to have this thing when we were studying Quran. So anytime, sometimes the food would come, it was very good food. We used to check back, we used to find out it wasn't halal, Sometimes, people bring things from the store, sometimes it was a cake or some kind of brownie or something. We used to check the ingredients, something was doubtful or something was haram, So it almost became like amongst the students, something would come, it would be really good. So sometimes you say, this thing looks too good to be halal, So, of course, we grew up and we started learning that, not every ingredient is haram, but in that moment we were young, we were immature, so sometimes things used to come. One of my friends used to say, let me taste it, and if it tastes too good, I'll let you know that it's not halal. But this is how many things we know in our life, and we don't know what's inside it. We don't know how it tastes. We don't, but it tastes good, we still eat it. Similarly with the Quran, you don't have to know. It will become a means of guidance for you. Make this ta'alluq, make this connection with the Quran, make this friendship with the Quran. Build this ta'alluq with the Quran, in any way it is. Because we know how much translation we can read. The beauty of the Quran. When you recite the Quran, the tilawat of the Quran, we're specifically told in the Quran, "Utlu ma uhiya ilayka min al-kitab." Recite from whatever has been revealed to you from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, from this book. Do tilawat of the Quran. Iqra' bismi rabbika alladhi khalaq. Do qira'ah of this Quran. Start with the name of your Rabb. Read this Quran. Not that you have to know the meaning. And see, shaitan, he knows how lazy we are. We'll read the translation once. We'll read the translation 2 times. After some time, translation doesn't do justice the way you don't really hear the recitation of the Quran. So it doesn't have the same flavor. It doesn't have the same flavor. Think of it like eating raw sugar. Eating sugar just like that, it doesn't have the same flavor. But mashallah, you take that same sugar and you mix it in cake, now mashallah. How tasty the cake is, or how tasty the brownie, or how tasty the chai or coffee or whatever it might be. You mix that ingredient into it, then it tastes really good. Similarly, the Quran, when you recite the Quran, it's a whole package. Inshallah, time will come where we'll learn the translation. Time will come where we'll understand the meaning. Time will come, that has its own time. But do not deprive yourself of the barakah, of the blessings of the Quran. Do not deprive yourself of this Quran becoming a means of guidance for you. Just because, you don't know the translation or you don't know, learn. If you don't know, go and learn. We should try and study. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, وَهُدًى وَبُشْرَى لِلْمُؤْمِنِينَ. This Quran is a means of guidance, the greatest means of guidance. وَبُشْرَى لِلْمُؤْمِنِينَ. And it is a bashara, glad tidings for the believers. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala give us understanding and give all of us the tawfiq to practice His deen. وَمَا عَلَيْنَا إِلَّا الْبَلَاغِ. الحمد لله رب العالمين، والصلاة والسلام على سيد المرسلين وعلى آله وأصحابه أجمعين. ربنا تقبل منا إنك أنت السميع العليم، وتب علينا إنك أنت التواب الرحيم. اللهم نور قلوبنا بالقرآن، وزين أخلاقنا بالقرآن، ونجنا من النار بالقرآن، وادخلنا في الجنة بالقرآن. اللهم اجعل القرآن لنا في الدنيا قرينا، وفي القبر مونسا، وعلى الصراط نورا، وفي الجنة رفيقا، ومن النار سترا وحجابا. ربنا آتنا في الدنيا حسنة، وفي الآخرة حسنة، وقنا عذاب النار. سبحان ربك رب العزة عما يصفون، وسلام على المرسلين، والحمد لله رب العالمين.